That's me. And I'm about to jump out of a perfectly good airplane and plummet over 10,000 feet back to Earth. So the question has to be asked, why would I willingly subject myself to this? Since its creation in the early 1900s, skydiving has grown to become an extremely popular sport, and dare I say, slightly more realistic. Each year, hundreds of thousands of people willingly cascade towards Earth at a staggering 120 miles per hour, placing their salvation in a backpack of carefully folded fabric and paracord. While skydiving is one of the safest sports and activities, safer than driving your car on the highway, for example, it still completely overhauls our brain into thinking that we're falling to certain death. Often we see our world in very unrealistic ways. We mold stories to match the lenses of our worldview, or we limit ourselves with beliefs in an effort to protect our comfort zones. And that's because for things to work best in our minds, we need some semblance of structure and uniformity to offset the unknown, the chaos outside of our norm. If you study the lives of very successful people, a common thread you'll find is that they constructively challenge this framework over and over, either physically, mentally, or both. Whether it's Tim Ferriss winning a gold medal in kickboxing after only 4 weeks of training, or Elon Musk selling out to completely reinvent himself and create something brand new. They challenge the norm with exceptional clarity, and many would argue that this is one of the most important keys to their extraordinary lives. And we can model this by taking something that our subconscious minds are certain about, a belief, like, gravity, that's usually a good one, and disproving it.
All right, it's getting real. Let's go.
And we may know consciously that skydiving is perfectly safe, right? The numbers don't lie. It's very, very safe. Your parachute's gonna open, you're gonna be fine. But our subconscious mind, which is mostly responsible for beliefs, interpreting our experience in life, and mostly responsible for keeping you alive, it looks at something like that and says, yeah, nope, gravity will kill you. Don't jump out of the airplane. That is death, like certain death outside of that airplane. That's what your subconscious tells you.
You ready? You're gonna fall an entire mile. Yeah, that's kind of sick. It's way too analytical.
But as soon as you step outside of that airplane, a complete belief change happens in your subconscious. Certain death becomes the most euphoric, incredible experience of your life. The fear, the anxiety, the nervousness, everything dissolves. And the moment when you're doing the thing that previously your brain said that is certain death, that is the moment when you're the least afraid. Jumping out of that airplane was like pressing a big reset on my brain. Like weeds and vines had slowly been accumulating, holding me back mentally, and suddenly I was free. Like suddenly I felt awake again. I could think clearly, and things that were truly important to me were becoming clear. And as I reflected back over this, a thought kept coming back to me over and over again, and it was this. I wonder what other new landscapes are out there, just on the other side of what feels like certain death.
That was awesome. We made it!
In reality, we're this close to some of those things. And often the best things in life stand behind false constructs and untested assumptions. But our minds are trying to protect us like all the time. So it takes this little thing, whatever it is, the scary unknown, and it magnifies it to make it seem, this massive unknown. There's lots of fear and uncertainty. And it creates an impenetrable wall inside of our minds. And there was something so interesting about actually shattering that mental barrier in a physical experience, in a physical manner, that started to break down those walls in other areas of my mind. And I started thinking about things differently. What if I did this? Like that's like really far outside of my norm. Like what if I acted this way, or thought this way, or said this, or did this other activity over here? Maybe it wouldn't actually be as scary as I think it was, because this wasn't nearly as scary. And yeah, to expand the word picture kind of, I guess, is like, so you had this impenetrable wall, but now that I broke through it in a very physical sense, I'm starting to go up to other walls in my brain and like poke them and just be like, how thick is this actually? Like, how much of this is just false constructs. And if you take someone that is, rich in life, whether that be financially, business, achievements, experiences, whatever the case may be, if you take it and look at someone like that, like in my mind, I think of the author Bob Goff, and it's just like, okay, what set them apart? Like Bob Goff absolutely obliterates reality in many ways. Like he just does things that most people look at it and they're like, that shouldn't be possible. And he's like, yeah, it is. You just do it. Like inviting, the world leaders over to his house to have, tea and supper with his children and stuff. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's cute. It's like, well, wait, hold up. That actually happened? Like he did that before he was like a famous author and like all this stuff. It's like, whoa. And if he does that repeatedly in his life, and lots of other people do this, then it can be replicated. Because I don't think it's luck and like chance. Like I don't believe in outliers when it comes to things like this. And I think it's this mindset that, from a very young age, they learned to break through these walls, to break through the levels that everybody else said was impossible. And they learned this mindset of looking at things for how they really are and not building mental roadblocks in their minds to stop them before they've actually tested the reality of trying to do something. So many people, they don't even start because in their mind it looks impossible. And so they're like, well, if I can't do it, if I can't see a way in my mind, then it must not be possible. So I'm not even gonna start and I'm not even gonna try. When you find people that repeatedly don't settle for that, that is when you have really high achievers. They taught themselves not to build walls and false constructs based on untested assumptions. So something like skydiving, it forces us to see the world from a different angle, because new angles mean new possibilities. You literally see the world differently because you've experienced something that you've never experienced before. And it's so important to capitalize on that momentum and let that one breakthrough lead to another and lead to another. And in some ways, it's like building a mental bank account, because you'll look back in the past and see the times that you broke through the norm. You've broken through what you formerly thought was impossible. Or maybe not even impossible, just like really, really difficult, really uncomfortable. And that now helps you move forward and do it again and again. For me, I'm building this mindset. So skydiving was it was an aspect of that. It was the next step in the process. For you, it might also be skydiving, or it might be, giving that speech or talking to that person, or doing this other activity that you find really, really scary or difficult. But whatever that is for you, be willing to break down those constructs, those false assumptions and mental constructs, and actually see it for what it is. And be willing to step into that. Be willing to step into the unknown and challenge the norm within reason. Obviously, don't be stupid. I think that goes without saying, but just don't hear me saying that you should go do crazy stuff. Like I said, this is a mindset. Like this is not only something that you can do through activity. It does require action, but it first starts with a mindset, and then actions tend to flow out of that. And for me, actions kickstarted it a little bit, with skydiving, things like that. But I do just want to make sure that that's clear. Don't hear me saying that you just, go off and do these really dumb, crazy things to try to gain this. You can either start slow and build up to it, or you can do something like a controlled, constructive activity like skydiving that kind of kickstarts you right into it. So the goal here is to open up new, novel mental landscapes and to open up new possibilities inside of our minds.